Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili Gianarakos, back for another episode. Vasili, how's it going, buddy?
Yariv, we made it. It's finally, here. Training camp's begun. So there's actually some news to talk about Flyers wise. In terms of the week in general, it's been a tough one for me, guys. Just a little bit under the weather this week, but we're fighting through. We're not 100% tonight, but we're playing injured. Hopefully no setbacks. We'll get through the whole podcast, and I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to just talk about what's been going on. There's some negatives, some positives, lots to dive into. How about you, buddy? How's the week going so far for you?
Good, man. Wouldn't be the Flyers if there weren't any negative, right?
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. The brand is chaos, and I think Charlie O'Connor said that, and I think he's right. I think he nailed that.
Accurate description.
Yeah, I mean, the brand of lately has just been chaos, and everybody feels it. But God damn, am I excited for hockey season? I don't care.
Yeah,
Dude,
me too, dude.
I do not care if if we are not a good team. I'm still gonna watch every game.
Yeah, same here. I will watch every game and go with the highs and the lows and see what happens. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, Tortorella started things off with a bang, really. So I'm interested to see kind of how things, progress here. We actually want to take a look here and read out the letter.
Yeah, let me.
I think Yari's going to pull that up.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about it before I got to the letter itself. It's just really interesting that Tortorella. Be honest. If there was no John Tortorella, let's even say Tony DeAngelo's here, right? And it was the same exact situation. Let's even say it was Peter Deboer. Would we be even pumped up at all for this season?
I mean, you see my facial reaction. Personally, I mean, I like Peter Deboer as a coach. Tortorella just exudes an energy about him that kind of gets you fired up, I think. Obviously, that's why he's such a good coach. I mean, that's a main reason. You can't say that's not the case. I don't think so. Like, without him probably in the space that he's in, kind of dealing with the problems that are going on, and then, kind of making it his goal really just to fix it and just get, the Flyers identity back, the Flyers culture back, just the way he's presented everything since he's been hired. I don't think, personally, I would be as excited because I just don't think another coach is going to do the things that he's doing, most likely. In terms of the hockey side of things, I'd probably be as excited because new coach, new system, there's always different things to dive into, but just the personality, like no one is John Tortorella but John Tortorella. So in terms of coaches in the NHL, nobody really holds a candle to him, right?
Well, it's also, it's kind of like we've been talking about in this podcast for a while. I said, I don't know if he's going to win a cup here. I don't know if he's the best coach in league or anything like that. But this is what I was saying. The right coach for the right time, for the right team, like timing is a huge piece of this.
It's good timing, I would say.
The guy's personality, and we'll go into the letter like Vasili was saying a second ago. I'll read it in a second. The guy's personality is spot on to what we need right now, right?
Yeah.
Spot on. And let's read. I'll read the letter. It's a little hard to read, so this light in my face. So give me a little bit of a second here. But I do want to read this. This is shared out. I'll give credit to Dan Silver because that's how I read it. The season ticket holder letter that he shared out. Obviously, it says "Dear Dan" to open it up, but they sent this out to the season ticket holders, and it does feel like he wrote this himself. If they wrote it for him, bravo!
They encapsulated his energy perfectly.
Highly doubtful that he even allowed somebody else.
I'm pretty sure just with the way, like, personally, when I read the letter, I could hear his voice.
It's him.
So, like, that's what I thought.
Let's be honest. Would John Tortorella even allow them to send out a letter where he's not the one saying the words?
Oh, no
okay.
Way.
First and foremost, one thing to like about the guy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Right off the bat.
Well, he's on it. He's honest, and he's 100% himself. Like, he's authentic, right? And he's not afraid to be himself, and that's a good thing. So,
has the Flyers' messaging of late felt authentic in any capacity?
Not really, and Tortorella brings that aspect.
So. That's what I wanted you to point out. All right, let's read this thing. I want to start off by thanking you. It's our passion. It's your passion, loyalty, and strong voice as the Flyers fans that I've always admired and made me jump at the chance to coach in the city and this team. You've heard me spend most of the summer talking about how exciting this year will be and why. Now you're about to witness it as we enter our first training camp. Full transparency, that is so Tortorella. Full transparency, I want to tell you exactly what you will see from our group day one. I'm not here to talk about last season or past performances. Frankly, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the opportunity in front of us. It is a chance to earn jobs, earn playing time, build towards creating high standards for players who put on that jersey to earn a place in our locker room, something that obviously every Flyers fan wants to hear. I can't promise you that it will happen overnight. This is my favorite part. I can't promise you that it'll happen overnight, but I can promise you this. There'll be a hard camp and that it will come out, or what will come out of this team what will come out of it was this team that will make you proud. Every single player will be tough to play against and above all, give an honest effort. If they don't, you won't see that player very much. I love that you wrote that.
That's the best line for me.
It's amazing. Yeah. That and that alone will be the driving force to our success and will define our 2022-23 season. I'm hoping as we go through this journey that you will identify with us as we will identify with you. I look forward to seeing you out there with us. The team, including me, is fueled by Philly's passion, and I have no doubt that this team's effort will match the work ethic of this city. It's a hell of a goddamn letter.
Yeah, it's a great letter. I mean, and I think it's important for him to do that, even though some people are saying, oh, it's just fan service, get with the program. But realistically for me, I mean, with just the cloud of negativity kind of surrounding this team, for the majority of the last two seasons, this is something that you kind of need, I think, to just start off this Tortorella era, just start off this training camp, really just start a new identity. This is the beginning, right? Beginning of building that new identity, beginning that new culture. This is where it begins. I just think having Tortorella do that is a good thing because at least he's making it known this is what he wants to do, and he's going to ensure, like, if nothing else, the team is working hard, and that's a trait of all Tortorella teams that we've seen in the past, right? They work hard, sometimes even to a fault. He overworks his guys in certain situations, but it's a good thing. It's what the team needs because, as we could tell, the last few seasons, they have not been working hard on the ice. So,
let's be honest. What do we start the conversation with? Their messaging has been horrendous.
Yeah, they're trying to change that as well, obviously.
This is the best messaging that we have heard from the Flyers in 2 years.
Probably since Vigneault was hired, to be honest.
And it's a coach.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not even a communications department.
No. Okay? Which also speaks maybe to that
I'm not going to shit on the communications department and all that. All I'm going to say, the tone of this email, because the Flyers are responsible for this too. They didn't, they told him to write the letter. They
approved it, exactly.
Something. Do more of this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they're going to. I think the team realizes right now that there's a lot of aspects of the team or the organization realizes there's a lot of aspects of the team that people are down on. But one thing that people are embracing is John Tortorella as the coach and the fact that he's going to make it his team. And no matter what player it is, how long they've played, what the salary is, what they've done in the league, if they don't play hard for him right now in the moment, it's not going to matter. That's what he ultimately wants, and that's what the city wants, right? They want the players to play hard.
When I first started this podcast, I was talking about this, where Dave Haxall's a smart guy. People think he's stupid. I don't know.
Oh, he's ridiculous. Not stupid. He's smart. Yeah,
he's a smart guy, and he'd probably be a good coach in the end because he's a young coach. He's kind of like learning the NHL game too and whatnot.
Usually a coach's first tenure in the league, which was Haxtall's, you can go around and they're not always very successful. So, I mean, you got to give him some more, chances. Look at Bruce Cassidy's first tenure.
I lost my point. What was I trying to say?
You were just talking about how Dave Haxtell's a smart guy, going back to the beginning of the podcast.
As I'm trying to say smart, I forget what I'm going to say. It was a good point too.
That's okay. We can move ahead and hopefully get it back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame because I wanted to say something specifically about coaching and developing it, and now I lost it. That's okay. All right. Well, let's get into the next topic anyway, because we're going to continue talking about Tortorella as it is, and we wanted to talk about the fact that he had a press conference today, and that press conference was also fantastic. at least for the most part. And shout out to Jamie for asking him about the dog thing.
Yeah,
And you
that's
could just
great.
see him like light up about that. That was pretty cool. And again, just more the same tone of this letter, you know,
Pretty much.
of it's like it feels like it's kind of changing a little bit, and I feel like he is allowing things to come together more than things have felt together at all. Like throughout all the chaos that's happening, it's like, okay, but they're working hard and all that stuff. So I thought his press conference today was a good addition to this letter, where it was more of this the tone of this letter, and he seemed like super relaxed. I don't know if that was just me, but when you say like just the way he was kind of like hanging out and just having a conversation,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know, like for me, it was, I don't know, I guess I really enjoyed listening to him, and it was really refreshing after having a long time where didn't really hear much that I even wanted to hear from a coach, right? I mean, like Mike Yo said some good stuff, but this just feels like it's on a whole nother level, you
It's
know?
not the same level. Well, Tortorella has a sense of authenticity to what he's gonna say just because of his track record, in my opinion. So like, there's more there. Like you look at Mike Yo, maybe he was echoing some of the same things. Not really, but I mean, it's kind of just different in terms of obviously you're gonna respect what a Tortorella is saying more, just based on the past success, I think.
Yeah.
But also, I just really think the vibe and just the energy kind of around him in general. Obviously, you can, it exudes positivity, but also kind of a never back down, like we're going to fight through type of mentality, which is obviously what the team needs. And you can tell he's trying to kind of breed that within the team, and just based off kind of all the negativity surrounding everything right now. There's some interesting tidbits kind of that he did go into. I mean, a lot of the media that was there, they asked him about the culture comments, about the room being fractured, things along those lines. So I think his comments there, kind of addressing that, was needed. He kind of clarified. He said, the overall view that he got from all the conversations with the players is that he thinks more accountability needs to be brought in here. His culture comments weren't necessarily about the players hating each other or anything, but it's more about them being able to say, hey, coach, we can take the accountability, we can take the responsibility, and we know that we've made mistakes on our own and we can fix those, which I think he pointed out that hasn't been present in the room. And personally, in my experiences, and this isn't anything in hockey, in business, and any sort of team environment, like if you are unable to recognize your own mistakes and take accountability for your own faults, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be hard to succeed, because then it's almost a mentality of you kind of pointing out other people's faults for why things might go wrong. And then that's when it all kind of degrades and falls apart, right? So I think that's interesting that Tortorella mentioned that. Um, Bill Meltzer also tweeted something interesting. He was saying that Tortorella mentioned he wasn't worried about how anybody looked during the skating tests either.
Yeah.
He just wanted to see everybody kind of push through the mental challenge, finish the reps. And that's telling to me too, because it shows that, maybe you might not have the best, you know, let's say showing in terms of, the suicides or look the most conditioned, but he wants to make sure there's no quit in this team. There's no give up. And I feel like in the past, that was there. Like the team would reach a certain mental point or reach a breaking point and guys would quit. And he's trying to develop that early. We don't quit no matter how hard it gets, even on day one. It's so hard. I'm going to push you guys, but we're still not going to quit. So I think that's a major
Yeah.
thing for sure.
No, I love that you pointed that out. Actually, I think that's it's like okay. So this is something. If you guys saw I was actually on Twitter for once today, and uh, it's just really interesting that like people are looking at the skating. Like I was talking to Chris a little bit, and because I couldn't be at practice, and he was there, and I was like, "Oh, how was it? I wish it was there." He's like, "Yeah, she was kind of boring." Yeah, I was like, "Why? Because you were just skating?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "They're just skating," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's awesome."
That's what they
I,
need, to be honest.
dude, I am so jacked up about the fact that he is doing this. I I I feel an energy that like I know the Coots, and we'll talk about it. The Coots injury is obviously humongous, and
Yeah,
we'll get into
devastating. We'll
that.
dive into it.
Devastating. But the energy that I felt when I saw how hard he was skating them, because people, and I tweeted about this, but like people are thinking that he is punishing them. Like, oh, you guys weren't lazy last year. So this has nothing to
He's doing
do.
it for this year. It has nothing to do with last year.
But yes, yeah, 100%. But it's not even it has nothing to do with punishment. You
No.
guys are, you don't like running or exercising. So you're going, oh, they're exercising hard. That's punishment. I was just tweeting, I run 6 miles to prepare myself for my workday at my desk. Like, guys, they're about to go in to a physical battle where at the very edge that every shift they are supposed to give 100% where they fight for every
You have
inch
to
of
be
the ice.
conditioned. You have to be
This
conditioned.
is the most important thing for them. If
Yeah,
they
and I mean,
go
I would
ahead,
say, yeah, I would say too, like if you don't, if you're looking at the Flyers, it might not be the most talented team on paper, realistically at this point, especially with Couture's injury, and then the Ellis news as well. So, I mean, if you're Tortorella and you're kind of assessing, well, what's my best chance to ensure that these guys can be competitive? It's to make sure that they're conditioned well. They're in peak form in terms of their athletic conditioning, all that type of stuff. But ultimately, like if I'm a player, I'm looking at this as a challenge, but also as a good thing because you know what? They weren't pushed. If I'm a player, I'm thinking, okay, we weren't pushed to this degree in any other training camps that I've been here, and look how we performed. So why not take this in stride and see how it turns out for us? Like, what's there to lose realistically?
dude. I'll be honest with you. I think they want this.
Yeah,
Like,
I could see the players welcoming the challenge. I would too if I was in their situation. To be honest, I mean, it's you want to prove yourself to a new coach. You want to build good relationships. This is the beginning of doing that, right? Buying into Tortorella's philosophies. This is a part of his philosophies.
they,
So
well, they might not even recognize that they won it at first. Look,
yeah,
the reality is that the group that we have right now, they can say whatever they want to us, right? And a lot
yeah,
of them are new, so if we include some guys who are new or not part of this, so they obviously wouldn't be even, they're just entering the room, so they don't even know. But a lot of
yeah,
guys here, they definitely do not remember how good they can be. The
yeah, for
only
sure.
way to get to that point is to demand more out of them first.
Yeah,
So they demand more out of each other. Because what happened today, I think very interesting, which one of them was obviously extremely predictable, is that through these drills, Ivan Provorov made it look easy in comparison to everybody else, which, by
well,
the
that's not a
way,
surprise. Yeah,
given.
the
I'm
guy
sure.
trains like Rocky and Rocky Four on a daily basis. It
Yeah,
seems so.
I'm sure Tortorella is thinking, yeah, that guy's not going to be my number one defenseman here.
Or that guy, we're gonna have a problem with that guy who's
Yeah,
already like the most well conditioned guy,
yeah,
skating my skating test and my suicide's like no
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
He's
Why
just
does every coach play him 25 minutes a night? Oh my god, I guess they're fucking morons.
because he's in good shape. He
Yeah,
prepares well. He's ready
true
for the game
professional. He's also
to
the
go
youngest of
in.
the
Well, you were
defensemen.
you were also saying, I mean, players are getting ready to go into battle. They're getting ready to go into game ready situations, compete 100% on the ice. I
He's
mean,
already there.
he's already at that point because he just prepares that way. But
This,
I mean,
this
that's
is
a
what I
good thing
talk
to
about
look.
when people
That's a
talk about trading him.
Yeah, I don't get it, but it's a good way to look at just the fact that I mean, it's something Cam Atkinson's mentioned, but it's also something that I mean, I think if you've played any sport in general at any level, you can probably ascribe to just as a listener, as a fan of the team. I mean, you typically play how you practice. So if you're not practicing hard, that's how you develop those habits, right? You develop good habits in your game when you practice hard, when you do the right things. It almost becomes like muscle memory. That's what Torrella's going to try to, I think, impose
Yes,
realistically,
and
like
they're all
hard practices,
and
and
they're all
that
in it
results
together.
yeah, and that results in playing hard. We're going to practice hard together. We're going to play hard together. It's going to
Correct.
result in wins, and there might be losses along the way, but at least we
Or
know
there
when we
will be.
do. Yeah, but at least we know when we lose, the effort's there.
I
It's not like
mean,
in prior seasons where they're getting blown out and they look like they couldn't give a fuck, you know?
well, look,
So
if they're going to lose, they're going to be the team that's shooting on you until the very end of the game.
yeah, they're going to be trying. You're going to see them actually actively trying. Whereas, I mean, there's points throughout last season you could watch certain players and they weren't trying, and I can actively point to that
I
and say, hey, like,
I would say there were some games where the team looked disheartened last
oh
year,
yeah, hundred
but
percent.
I also think like look, dude, look how the people are reacting to what Tortorella is doing, which in my opinion is a very normal process.
Yeah, for sure.
And it has not been done here.
No, not in a long time. I mean, realistically, we were talking with Jim Jackson last week, and we kind of went back. We're like, when has there ever been a coach in, the organization that's had the similar essence to Tortorella? And really, it's since Mike Keenan, and
Hitchcock.
that's Hitchcock
The
and
closest
Keenan.
to, and
Yeah,
Keenan, yes.
and so that's like back 20 years with Hitchcock, and then 40 years with Keenan. So like, it's something the team needed. I mean, they've lost a lot of the swagger that we've
What has
known for
been
Flyers hockey.
what
So
has been part of the biggest problem, the problem for the Flyers since Chris Pronger definitely took Chris Pronger's discipline changed this team. Prior to that, we had a very similar problem. What has been this team's biggest problem all of these years?
lack of discipline, I would say.
There you go.
But also just lack of discipline, but also just I mean they just
Wasn't
haven't
talent.
it's not talent. I just feel like there's been like a swagger almost missing. Like we're
Slow
Flyers,
starts,
yeah, all that plays in.
lots of penalties,
Yeah,
drinking. Like, don't get me wrong, I was not the most disciplined at all growing up. And all these guys are human. I don't hate anybody for being undisciplined. Doesn't even bother me that much, to be honest with you. I don't need people to be perfect. But when you have a coach that is literally, he lives that way, you can tell. And now
yeah,
he's demanding everybody else. Look, I'm not saying they need to live the way that way for the rest of their lives. They need to change who they are as people. But when you're in that rink and you can carry that disciplined energy and hopefully that translates to the ice for once.
yeah. But also, I think the main point too, and then this kind of ties in back to the letter for me. I just think at this point, this is the way it's going to be if you're going to
That's
be a
why we wanted
Flyer.
Trotz.
But that's the truth of the matter. Like this is how it's going to be now if you want to be a Flyer. And like Tortorella was saying, if you don't want to ascribe to what he's doing, you don't want to work hard, you don't want to work hard in practice, you don't want to give that maximum effort and put your 100% every day, even if you're
It's
getting blown out in a game or anything like
so
that.
hard to do
Yeah,
that
no, it is, but it is hard to do that. But
for any
it's
human alive to
yeah, it's
bring
been
100%
shown.
every day.
It's been shown, and he said even that if you don't see players doing that, you're not going to see them. So
Yeah.
I respect the honesty there.
Well, he said you won't see them very much
Yeah.
because everybody gets second chances. And that's the
Well, for
one thing
sure.
I think he implies in that you can always win him back with your effort. And
Yeah.
here's what I want to add on to that caveat, which I think most people are not considering what he's saying, is that the odds of these guys being perfect is never going to happen. The
Yeah.
idea that what he's doing though is that he wants them to expect that of themselves.
Yeah.
So he as a coach doesn't need to say a thing.
Yeah. It's a
For,
standard that you're
for
setting.
for
It's a,
instance, I run a team. I run a development team. Like one of the things I talk to my team about, I go, look, my goal for this team is that I don't need to ask anybody to do anything. Like literally, that you all think outside of your scope of responsibility, that you see a problem and you go, oh, that's a problem. Oh, that person needs my help. Oh, this has to happen. And you're going, what would the team lead do? What would the manager do? What would my buddy do? What would the boss do? What would everybody do? They would help in that moment. So
yeah.
I have to do
Exactly.
that now.
Exactly.
So that's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like at least with the Flyers, it's kind of degraded the last few years, at least in terms of the effort and the standards. I mean, you can tell, and media said this throughout the last couple of weeks. They've never seen players come back that early. That's one thing setting the standard. Another thing too is just the fact that guys are coming in looking a lot more conditioned and in shape versus when in past training camps they came in out of shape, right? And I think that's a part of the standard that you're kind of
They're competitors, dog.
yeah.
Don't you think they want to? Don't you think they're looking for a reason?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Tortorella's kind of just he wants to set that culture, set that standard. So, like you were saying, that going into next season, going into practices, he doesn't have to yell at the players and say, "Well, I need
Right.
100% from you. I need this from you. I need that from you." He wants the guys to say, "Okay, I'm going to lay it down for you. This is how it's going to be, and you guys show me that you can, ascribe and fit into my philosophy and understand what I'm doing." There's going to be conflicts, confrontations along the way, I think, but I
Oh,
think that's a part. I think that's a part of
that's
his coaching
part of it.
style. Yeah, and I think that's going to get the team to come together ultimately. I mean,
So,
because those confrontations happen, and then I mean, you have people rebound from that, and then it shows,
dude,
okay, he called me out, but look, it's for a good thing, right? So
this is a stupid example of this, but I was playing foot hockey in this league here locally here in Philly, we had a team, same guys. We play all the time. We had our best player, Dave, and he was, we do it was 4-on-4, right? So you do like pairings for
Yeah.
forwards, and I was like kind of coach of the team. I was like middle of the pack on the team, but I was coach,
Okay.
and we were losing this game, and like everybody was like annoyed because we like shouldn't have been losing, but we were losing. We were losing by like 3 goals or something, and we like got off like in between, and everybody's like all pissed off, and I'm like, Dave, you're on the line with me, and then I was like, switch it up. He's like, I don't want to fucking switch lines. He was so mad. He was just mad at everything because we were losing.
Yeah.
And he went out there with me, and he scored 4 goals like within 20 minutes or something
There
like
you
that.
go.
And we won the game. And I like looked at him at the end. I was like, woke you up, you
It's fair
know?
enough, right? But
And
that's what
I
the
just,
team needs, really, a wake up call,
I
right?
just, it, that's all I was trying. So the guy's all jacked up, but again, it was confrontation.
Yeah,
I wasn't
exactly.
trying to piss him off. I was just trying to change up the lines because it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was probably just like, why am I getting changed up? Because it's like,
Yeah. And
but I
that's
was
the
just
main
trying to change
thing.
shit up.
That's the main thing that Tortorella, I think, is doing. He's coming in and changing things that have not been changed for a long
He's
time.
rattling the cage.
And that's what they need, right? And it's just going to
What
be
this
interesting.
organization needs, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be
Good.
interesting to see what happens with him as we kind of go along.
Well, let's transition to the next topic because you had it written down, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but let's talk about what Fletcher said because you have a comment here, and I want to talk about this moment here, and let's combine the two together. And I'm going to go in
Okay.
a different order than we talked about earlier. But
Sure. Yeah.
Fletcher comes out, says Ellis is done, straight
Hmm.
up, then says we have 10 young players at camp that are under 25 or whatever they can make the team.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And then that ties too into Tortorella saying he's going to play the young kids and that they had 61 points last year, so the door's open if they show it, which is
Okay.
great.
All I want to say is we're talking about messaging. Tortorella shows up. All of a sudden, we get honesty with Ellis. Tell him now. Stop wasting. It's gonna be hanging over our season all year if you don't say anything. Tell him now. Why didn't you do it earlier? What were you waiting for? Why are you
Well,
letting this
they
shit
knew
hang
about
on?
it. Yeah.
Who cares? Communicate.
Well, that's the thing with Tortorella. He's bringing that honest communication, which you're seeing it top down
And
now.
then all of a sudden, 10
So,
spots open, blah, blah, blah. Honest communication. Messaging was totally different today.
mhm.
Was anybody
Crazy.
that upset that they finally said Ryan Ellis was done?
No, we all knew it. It's just admitting the truth,
Why
basically.
did you make us hang around all summer? You brought in Tony D'Angelo, knowing that Ryan
Yeah.
Ellis's chance were coming back are very slim. You knew
Well,
the kind of
even
damage that's
Fletcher,
there.
yeah. Yeah, he even Fletcher said he kind of operated throughout the offseason in his press conference, knowing that he wasn't going to be
But
available.
look,
So
I'm not. The reality is, it didn't work. A strategy didn't work. You guys allowed this shit to hang around. Just put an end to it.
yeah, fair.
He's not available. Stop asking about Ryan Ellis. He's not available. If he's available, we'll
Yeah,
let you know. Sorry, he's not here. That's why I brought in Tony D'Angelo.
yeah,
Sorry, Sean Couturier is not available. He's out. Focus on the
yeah,
players that are here. Sorry, don't
yeah.
know. Don't know yet. Don't have an answer for you. We'll have it later. That's not what people want to hear. Who cares anymore? You think people are going to get angrier at you? We don't care about that shit. We want honesty at this point. Stop dicking us around. Stop pulling us around and telling me, oh, Ryan Ellis might come back. We knew 12 months ago. Why are you driving everybody nuts? Why? What's the point of this? Be honest. Be honest. Let the young players, hey, everybody's job's available. We lost a lot last year. That's not a bad thing to say.
No,
Did
I
the
like
veterans
that.
know?
I
They
to be
know.
to be honest, I mean, I am kind of excited that he said that because I mean I've
Let's
been at least
go.
in yeah, and a lot of articles I've been writing, I've kind of been focusing in on that. Just the fact that there's a lot of question marks with the young guys, and we don't really know what they are, and
Well,
they really need to
don't you
find
think it's a
out what
vote
they
of
are. And
confidence?
it is. That's a good thing. That's what I
Like,
mean.
we
I'm
see you as an
excited by it.
option.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need, and that's kind of what the fan base needs, right? Because there's so many sections, and I think just so many perceptions that the Flyers have no talent in their prospect pool. They have nobody that can make a difference, can really be a factor on the team. But I would say that's completely wrong, and there are some players that can
It's
make
just
an
a
impact.
it's just
So,
a it's just a waste of time. We talked about it before. It's
oh yeah,
exaggeration. Exaggerations, they're boring. They're
but just
boring.
hearing Fletcher mention it is a good thing. That
Yeah.
the like to show that the fact that they actually will get that opportunity. Just to quote him, he did say we have a big wave of young talent coming into our system this year. Some will play in Lehigh, some will play here, but it's an exciting opportunity for a lot of younger players. Depending on how camp goes, we could have up to 10 players on a roster, 25 years old and younger. So clearly, particularly up front, which I would agree with, there's a lot of young guys up front. There's a lot of opportunity for some young players to step up and show what they can do and see if they're a part of the solution going forward. I think that's a good way to kind of start things out. And at least that's how he started his availability off, I believe, just kind of mentioning all that stuff. And it adds a sense of optimism to me because there's so many young guys like, but we really don't know what they could bring, right? You don't know until you see it. I mean, no matter what, if you don't consider them a high end talent or you haven't watched them or anything, I mean, let's see what happens at the NHL level. There's been so many cases of guys busting out and being stars out of nowhere, realistically. So
And
until
just
we see stuff like this, you never know what's going to happen. Um,
well, wouldn't it help to get them to break out if they come in most condition they've ever been?
Oh, of course, that's a factor. And then even Tortorella, it's good that they're on the same page because he said, as I was mentioning earlier, like all the young guys, they have an open door to impress him and make the team. The team's been shit essentially. He said they had 61 points, and anybody has a chance to make the team. And then I think from there he kind of got into the injuries, things like that, and that's kind of the more negative area
Yeah.
of the press conference. So I think we should start here with kind of just Ryan Ellis. I mean, we kind of already mentioned that Ryan Ellis is going to be or expected to be out for the season. Chuck Fletcher himself said if he's back, it's a bonus. So based on that, I would say don't expect him to be back. We
Poor
kind
Alice,
of
man.
let's
That's
be. It does suck because no matter what people say, and I mean, there's rumblings on other podcasts. Oh, he doesn't want to be in Philadelphia. He doesn't like the way people are handling a situation, yada yada, all that kind of jazz. Like in my opinion, I mean, he's a hockey player. He wants to play hockey. So trust me, if he was healthy, he would play. He just isn't. And I mean, we kind of first off got actually some legitimate insight into what the injury is. So just to quote Fletcher again here, he said, I think we've called it multifaceted, which it is. There's a psoas, I think that's how you say it, component. There's a hip
yeah.
component. There's an abductor
So
component.
I think it's so as
Psoas.
I
Okay.
think.
So psoas component, hip component, abductor component. So I'm not sure if you go in and repair one part that it's going to fix everything. I've never heard of an injury like this. It's very complicated. Torn psoas is a very serious injury for a hockey player, a very rare injury. So we're doing the best we can, but we will leave it up to the medical experts. So based on that, this guy has like three different things wrong with him at once that all connect to each other in kind of the pelvic region. I think the psoas, what it is, I'm not a medical doctor. I kind of read up on it today since it was mentioned that it's like some sort of muscle or area near the lower back that kind of strains down or stretches down to the tailbone and then like affects your quads and being able to move your quads around freely without any pain. And I mean, if you're a hockey player, that's literally all you're doing is moving your like quads and thighs when you're skating. So it kind of makes
Yeah.
sense why the guy cannot move and play because he can't probably fucking skate
The
without
amount of
feeling pain.
damage.
Yeah.
The amount
So
of damage that they mentioned alone.
I'm just wondering, like, the only thing that's negligent to me that kind of
Oh
sucks
God.
here is, like, was this something that developed in Philly? Was the remnants of this happening in Nashville? It's hard to know. Like, so that's the only blind side on the management's perspective. Like, you can't really predict injuries like that, but something that multifaceted, and he came here and only played 4 games leads me to believe it was already plaguing him a bit, and they probably just weren't aware, which isn't a good thing. But I mean, realistically, if you look at the assets they gave up to get him, it's a wash of a trade at this point. Unfortunately, I mean, Nolan Patrick's not playing this season either. So you
Poor
have
Nolan.
both guys traded for each other, not playing in
I
the
don't think
NHL this
Cody Glass.
season.
I don't think Cody Glass is playing either, is he?
No, what's the chances of that? Like, think about a trade. Have you ever
I
heard of
think
a
they all
trade?
knew, dude.
That's crazy.
I
But have you ever heard of a trade like that happen where three guys that are major pieces in the same trade all aren't playing like a year later? That's
I
fucking
I
crazy, man.
don't
Like,
I don't know if that's the case, but I do think that players have been traded for being like, oh, here's my broken asset for your broken asset.
oh, 100%. Yeah, like we can
Yeah.
we can fix him or something. Of course, general managers, hockey teams, they always think that they're the solution to the problem,
Right,
right?
right, right.
And then from there, we'll get into the Couturier stuff. So basically, the first thing he mentioned with Couture is that it's frustrating for him, pretty much, and he knows that it's the same area as the last injury. He's been following the medical guidance of the doctors and the staff. over the course of the summer, he was improving, but from time to time, he had some nerve irritation in his glutes. He was told it was a normal part of the process, continued to train. And at some point over the last week, things kind of deteriorated for him. He also said it got to the point that he was not sleeping as well and was experiencing a lot of pain. What triggered that, I don't know. Fletcher said there's a whole host of components that impact your back. We'll try to get to the bottom of it and do what's best for Sean. And next component is he's going in for a second opinion. People asked if it could be career ending. Fletcher turned that down and just said that, he feels much better than he did last year when he initially had the injury. He can walk around, he can sit comfortably. He feels he can even go and skate right now. Suggests it's career ending or season ending is a long way away. We have to leave it up to the specialists, see what his opinion is, and then we'll get together and have a plan. So obviously they had a second opinion go on today. I mean, we'll probably get the news on that. Assuming in the next couple of days, depending on what it is. Hopefully it's positive for Couture. It's just really devastating for the Flyers. I mean, you lose your first line center, probably your best player, MVP of the team, in my opinion. I mean, not a good thing to happen. No. It's going to negatively affect the team in all aspects. I mean, he's great 5-on-5, great defensively, great on the penalty kill, contributor on the power play. So it's not good. Personally, the Flyers with him were a bubble team for me, or just on the bubble, probably below that of making the playoffs. Now without him, talent-wise, they're definitely bottom 10, probably in the league. But you have to hope maybe that Tortorella and just, the way he's kind of running things gets the team to buy in and kind of rally around each other and, perform a little higher than expectations. And also you hope maybe that it's just a setback for Couture, like it was in the summer, where he can't do a few things for a couple weeks, but he's back. I think that Frank Saravalli was saying 6 to 8 weeks, what they're looking at as like the optimal time frame, which would put you where about the middle of November essentially. Mm-hmm. So that's not the worst, considering the season starts October 13th. So I just want to see Sean Couture play a healthy Couture, in my opinion. So hopefully we can get him back. What do you think, Yariv?
Well, as far as Ryan Ellis, I already knew he was done a while ago.
We talked about it all summer, to be honest.
Steve asked us, Cornianos, for you guys. He was like, "Oh, what do you think of the odds of Ellis coming back?" I'm like, 0.
Yeah.
So the Coots thing, man, that is just kicking the dick, dude. Like, there's no other way. Like, he is look. The reality is, the Flyers are in a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. You cannot win a championship without a number one center.
No.
Can't happen. Not happening. You cannot match up against the best teams in the league without a number one center.
Or good center depth. So
yeah. And those of you who don't think Couture is a number one center, I don't know what you're talking about. Number one center is a guy who puts up a point per game, and he plays against the best team, the best players on the other team, and comes out on top. That is exactly what
he does. Yeah.
Exactly what he does. We don't have anybody else like that.
No.
We don't have anybody else like that on this team. We're not even strong down the middle anymore because of injuries and other things. Without him, with a Cutter Gauthier, who's the only other option, real other option at center that could even be that in the system right now.
Yeah.
You don't have much of a choice. Now, I don't think it changes the current plan, which is wait and see what Tortorella does. Yeah. What are the effects of Tortorella? That is first and foremost.
See what the young guys have as well. I think it's becoming pushed to the forefront too.
You can't react too soon. You will screw yourself over. You cannot react too late. You will screw yourself over.
Has to be a measured approach.
Right. The Flyers are most likely not making the playoffs. I think they know that most likely now, especially that Couture is not part of the equation. Mm-hmm. Now, they're definitely not 100% in that direction, but whatever percentage they had in their head that they thought the Flyers could make, that has probably been cut in half at least, right?
Yeah.
So if they thought there was a 40% chance, now like, oh, there's a 20% chance. Mm-hmm. So it's not a great chance. So that means you have to pivot at some point. Doesn't change much. Now, if his career is over, you must go and find a replacement.
Yeah, which is tough.
I don't want to. Yeah, it sucks. Now, that would cost either assets or maybe we get lucky and somebody's available. And then there's also the chance of being one of the worst teams in the league and getting, Bedard. It is not the end of the world, but you can't answer any of these questions right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is like you said, the worst thing that probably could have had happened to this team right now. Not the worst, but it's definitely pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it's a problem that must be solved to be highly competitive.
Yeah.
The only solution that I have, and I'm going to say it again, and people are going to think I'm full of shit again, even though I'm the only one who said it years in advance. The only option you have that's immediately at the NHL level and that is talented enough to do this is Joel Farabee. I heard it didn't work last year. I'm not convinced that it won't work. I'm not convinced that it didn't work last year either.
He played some good games at center. We've talked about it, so
Yes. Uh, I think there is a chance that we will see that again and attempt it. Not because I think they'll try it all year, and if it doesn't work, they're going to stick to it. This is the reason why. He is the only guy in the system who is clear cut, top line, projected young player with the ability to play in all situations. He is a mix of a Jonathan Taves and a Simone Gagne together. That is the type of player you can convert to center.
yeah.
Theoretically,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it will work, but I could see them trying because if you do, it is a huge hole that you fill. Because even if Cutter
Pretty
Gauthier comes
much.
back, you're still kind of fucked. That's how big of a loss. It's like losing Couturier or losing Giroux in his prime at like
Well, Couture
29,
is his
28.
prime. Yeah, so basically, yeah, it's
So
not a good thing.
it's very bad.
It's not a good thing at
There's
all.
no
I mean,
upside.
but yeah, the only thing I guess to look forward to is maybe you can see some younger guys kind of potentially work themselves into the role like
Sure,
Farabee.
but they would have done better with him in the lineup. That's the
Oh,
problem.
100%. Yeah. But I mean, if you find out Joel Farabee can be a legitimate NHL center, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, could be the silver lining out of it, really. Personally, me, I wouldn't mind for them to try Farabee. I
There's
mean,
other
you might
guys to
call
try.
you, yeah, you might, people might call me dumb, but I mean, Travis Konechny, put him at center, see what he can do. He played center his whole career in junior before the NHL. I mean, you could say he's a winger now, but what do you have to lose if you're going to be bad anyway? I mean, you
Don't
might as well
have
try.
we don't have a top six forward center outside of Kevin
Kevin
Hayes, and he's
Hayes
never hit point per game in
in
the
his
NHL.
career. Yeah, he's never hit above 60 points
Yeah,
in the NHL. So, I mean,
a
you might
good
as well
player.
try.
He might
Yeah,
do that this year.
he looks like he's in great shape.
Can
So,
we say that for a second? Hold on. Can we slow down for a second? Because we're all so sure that this team sucks. I understand that. I get where that comes from. I understand the logic. I understand the likelihood. But I think it is very important to understand that we cannot predict the future, and you do not know how good this team will be. They
no,
could surprise you anyway.
yeah. You know what? I mean, this is my perspective on it. Like, they have a pretty good defensive core. It looks like Provorov's going to have a bounce back season. That's my opinion on that. D'Angelo even said in the press conferences today, like, he's getting to know Provorov. He reminds him a lot of Jacob Slavin, and he thinks that he's really a good fit for those types of players. And I would say there's a lot of similarities between Slavin's game and Provorov. So I think that's a good sign. The defense is deep. Carter Hart, I mean, if he has structure in front of him, could be a top 10 goalie, just talent wise, he is, in my opinion. So, I mean, they could win a lot of games 2-1. You know, that those type of grinded out, like, you know, Columbus was winning games when Tortorella was their coach, when kind of Panarin left, all those star players left, and it was kind of just a, you know, hardworking group of blue collar players. Like, I could see the Flyers shaping an identity like that for sure and still
Mm,
having an impact. And then if you get a Couture back, let's say, then you're really ready to rock, right? At
uh,
100%.
and then you can see that
My,
conversation happening, right?
yeah. And I
Oh, if we
mean,
only happened.
my thought too with the Couture, just to end off, is that,
Yeah,
like, I mean, it kind of sucks because, and the real reason why it sucks is
it sucks. It's
he even
so
said,
bad.
he even said in the press conference before the injury happened that he had some setbacks
Yeah.
and they had to tell him to tone it down because he's working too hard and he just wants to get back early and it's hard for him. Like, you tell the guy cares and he wants to come back and play and help the team. And he likely probably hurt himself and injured the same area, probably overtraining. And I mean, that's not a good thing, right? But it shows, I mean, the guy ultimately wanted to get back. But it also points out the fact, like, if you're the Flyers medical staff and he's rehabbing it, you got to be more attentive to what he's doing, even if he, even if he is a guy that, is known to want to push himself like that. You kind of have to tone it down and say, hey, Sean, like, we understand you want to come back, but you got to really just be careful with the back. And that's the only concern that I have going into 8 years. a guy's coming off of back surgery. If he needs another back surgery, then you get into a difficult territory because with hockey, double back surgery in the same year, it's not a good it's not a good thing ultimately. So like you just hope he can avoid another surgery at this point. And I guess to end, I mean, a good thing to look at is just announcing that the Flyers have made changes with the medical staff. So they've announced that they've hired Tommy Alva as head athletic trainer, Jeff Taylor as physical therapist rehab coordinator, and Gavin McClellan as data engineer. That's along with all the other changes they've made this summer. They've done a lot of strength and conditioning coach changes. Hired Ian McKeown there to kind of oversee it all. So like anybody can blame the medical staff. Even I kind of pointed to it there, but they've changed it up. So really, it's just at the end of the day, these are hockey players. They want to get back as quick as they can and play. You even saw Kevin Hayes mention that it wasn't up to the doctors last year when he came back in those situations. He made the decision. So you know what? These guys want to play, and that's if that's hampering their ability to come back at 100%, it could be. But
why do people not know this? I've been trying to figure that. Like I've had to explain this to people off camera. And I'm trying to, maybe it's because people are younger. I'm not.
Hockey's different than a lot of other sports, but also maybe it's just the culture too. That's how it is, right? Players want to come back.
No, it has nothing to do with hockey.
Okay.
Your doctor has no idea what's going on in your body.
Well, hypothetically, yeah.
No, they don't. They can take scans to read and stuff, but they don't know when you're uncomfortable. Like they're not going to be like, oh, I feel good today. And they're going to look at you and be like,
no, you don't.
No, you don't. You
well,
liar.
No, I know what you mean.
But that's what people think that the doctors can do. It's literally, hey, how you feeling? We gave you some time.
And you can make it back?
Yeah. You say, are you sure you want to try? Maybe give it another week. All right, I'll give it another week. You don't think that they say that to them?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I will say this. The year that the Flyers didn't have Nolan Patrick in the 2019-20 season, outside of the Nolan Patrick thing and Lindblom getting cancer, they had no health problems.
Yeah, it's all luck, really. It's a physical sport, right? So it could happen at any point.
Same medical staff.
Oh, yeah. I just think the main thing, really, is what you were kind of saying. Like the players, they're gonna always want to come back. So I mean, if they're feeling good,
it's quicksand, bro.
Yeah, they're gonna come back. Exactly. Yeah, and you have to add in too, if the team's losing like they were, that's gonna be more motivation. I want to get back. I want to help.
It's quicksand, right? Like think about how Kevin Hayes. Like just take it's kind of a pity party, but like obviously Kevin Hayes had a really tough year last year. And you think about the way his year started with his brother. You're down as far down as you go. Then the injuries. Right. And then your team sucks. And then your captain's traded. And then people just nonstop, just one after the next. And it's quicksand. So then he's rushing. Oh, let me try to get back. And then I heard on leave again, when I bring up stuff that people say, I try to leave their name out of it because it's not an attack on the person. But I hear people saying like, oh, Kevin Hayes in that press conference was, he's like, oh, you want to say something. But, if you're not the one doing it on the ice, too, you can't say anything. And they're like, oh, he's talking about Provorov. No, he's talking about himself. He's talking about himself.
He was struggling. About the fact that he could be a better player.
How can he go into the room and say, guys, give it, and then he can't even skate?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's what he was talking about.
Well, then there's no accountability for you as a leader because if you're going to preach it, you got to be able to,
and you lead by example. And this is why. Look, the one thing you cannot deny about Kevin Hayes, and this is what we were talking about. So let's talk about this actually, because we were talking about captaincy, and people are like, "Oh, who's Tortorella going to pick it?" He's not telling you what he's doing with the captaincy because it's not up to him.
Yeah,
the coach does not
pick the captain.
Yes, he is selected naturally by the group. The leader stands up, and then the coach either recognizes it on his own and is good enough, or he has them vote, which sometimes happen. Personally, I think if you're a really good coach, you should be able to recognize it.
Yeah.
Hence why Tortorella keeps bringing up Kevin Hayes.
Look at the Couture.
But Kevin Hayes specifically, even if he's not captain, you have to recognize Kevin Hayes is fucking Mr. Cool of that.
He's a leader. He's a leader in the room, and all the guys love him 100%. Yeah.
Naturally selected. Tortorella
Oh yeah,
keeps talking about how important Kevin Hayes is. Why? Because the confidence of the room is carried by Kevin Hayes and Sean Couturier,
yeah.
two guys who were not around. Why? Because half the
Binding
team is kids.
forces. Yeah, exactly.
And Provorov
But
is 26
pretty much.
now.
It's interesting. It's interesting stuff. Like, I'm just happy, at least with like ending off the press conferences, things like that. We got some, transparency from Fletcher on the injuries for once, because usually he's one to not be very transparent, and then just the transparency too with giving the kids kind of chances to break through. Um, Another interesting thing too that I saw there. Was just the fact that Fletcher was saying, it's time to see, Tortorella's strength put to use, really, and he kind of mentioned that he didn't
Like
get
that.
enough credit for his track record of making players better than they are. Right. And Fletcher even said pushing players to be better, developing young players. That's a critical part of what we want to do this season. We want to find out what we have. Even a player like Konechny, is he a 50-point guy? Is he a 70-point guy? Let's push him here. Let's see what we have. Ivan Provorov and Sanheim took a step last year, but Ivan's a really good hockey player. I think he has more there. Like, that's the truth of the matter of the fact. It's great. It's great to see.
For hockey season. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm so goddamn excited. You don't understand. Like, I don't care. Every year, even if they're the worst team in the league, I get so excited. You're just like, I'm like, oh, I'm on Provorov. But okay, I love what you just brought up there. And I'm like thinking in my head, and somebody commented on Jake Voracek like being out of shape, blah blah blah, on Twitter, and I was like sitting in my head, I was like, oh, I was like, that's funny because the guy has the story backwards, and I was like, because when Voracek came here, he was out of shape.
Yeah, and then
He
got
came
into shape.
and got into shape here, and then he became a point per game player. I don't know if you remember this. It was like during the lockout.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And they asked him, like, what did you change? He's like, oh, I stopped eating my mom's food.
My mom's cooking. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great quote, man.
I mean, it's a joke, but but the joke reflects what he actually did, which would mean cut down and get in better shape.
Yeah. Take care of your diet.
What is
Tortorella do? Conditioning.
And literally, what was it? The following year, I'm pretty sure Jake Voracek competed for a Hart Trophy.
Yeah, I was like top 3 or something in winger scoring in the league, something along those lines.
I
like
think he was
88
second
point
points.
season.
I think he was second points in the league.
Yeah, I think he might be right there.
Behind Jamie Benn.
Oh yeah, that was the year Jamie Benn had like
third or fourth in the league.
That was like a low point year for the NHL.
Yeah,
it was like 85 points. Like Ben led the league. Everybody's like, oh,
he had an 8-point game.
Yeah,
he had like an 8-point game in the last game. Or it was like a 4-point game or something at the last game of the year. And we're like, oh my god,
it could have been Voracek.
Yeah, but crazy, again, the whole point is this player who was came in with a lot of talent, number 7 overall pick, kind of underperformed. And then finally took his work ethic to the next level, got in the best shape of his life, and turned into a star player. Doesn't happen for every player, but if you look at the amount of players on this team that fit that description that I just gave you, that we can just analyze right now and tell you this team was not pushed enough to be in good enough shape for the level that they need to be at the NHL level, like to the level that I expect them to be at. That it takes to really hit that next level, at least not the entire team in unison.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have a real effect. The conditioning aspect,
potentially, yes, right?
Yeah, because
I mean, certain guys.
Well, it's just a real indicator is like as you go on throughout the season. I mean, you obviously can lose conditioning, just because it's a grind, right? So the more conditioned you are to start, the better it is for you as the season goes along. But then also, I think the main thing is just late in games. How many times last season did we see late in games? The Flyers are making mistakes, not playing structure, not doing the right thing. Conditioning plays into that, man. It's because they're fucking tired out there, right? So like, if you're not tired, try making decisions on the ice when you're thinking tired and the game's already moving a million miles per hour. It's so fast out there.
Exactly.
Do it now when you're conditioned. You have your wits about yourself because you're not huffing for air out there. You know what I mean? So I think that plays into it for sure. So I'm excited for that. I mean, even despite all the injuries, there's some things to look at really. We'll see what happens, man. Like with the younger guys, and even like some guys like Frost. Like I'm really excited now to see what kind of Morgan Frost has, just because it's just wide open for him now. top power play time, 2C time. You got to give it to him.
Well,
So
like, look, if Tortorella can get everybody's work ethic up, then we can talk about like, okay, is this a skill issue or is
yeah.
this a work ethic issue? Because if we can eliminate the work ethic debacle, like whether it's a question or not, right? Because maybe the guy doesn't have the work ethic to even make it through Tortorella's camp.
Mm-hmm.
You make it through Tortorella's camp, then you go, okay, you have the work ethic. So maybe you don't have the skill that we thought you did. And that's
Yeah.
fine. And that's fine too. And maybe you don't end up here, as a player, but like somebody like Morgan Frost, I'm not going to say that he doesn't have conditioning to a level that the other guys do. I don't know that. But I'll say this, that like he is the typical type of guy who could benefit from a coach pushing him to another level,
Yeah.
and not just specifically him. And this is, I think, really key to what is happening here that I think needs to be expressed very much so. He is not doing this to one guy. He's doing this to all of them at once. And that's the reason it works.
Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't work if you say that guy needs to run more than that guy.
no, they're all skating laps. Like, well, let's get into
You
it.
all equally suck. That's the idea.
He literally started off all 3 sessions with dudes doing skating laps for like 25 minutes, then suicides and bag skated them after.
Yeah, and you
So,
look at like a guy like Nick Seeler who's killing it in those competitions. It evens the playing field. That guy,
yeah,
he's not as talented as you, but look, he works a lot harder than you do.
yeah,
As a guy who
exactly.
has less talent than you, working harder than you. Well, that's not
You,
good.
no, and that's where
Making
the
a lot more
challenges are going to
money.
start coming. That's where the challenges are going to start coming for
That's
guys that might be higher paid, things like that. Torrell's going to point that stuff out, and then you get those confrontations we were talking about, and then
right.
that's when it becomes uncomfortable, and these guys got to rise to those challenges.
You know what's interesting? I'm like thinking about it right now. I was listening to actually a really good interview. I think it was Jason Martinez with Lappy. I think
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was Jason Martinez with Lappy, and he was talking about the Cates brothers, and he was talking about like players that come in the league who had fathers that were coaches, and they come in
Mm-hmm.
like so much more prepared and all that. You look at the players on this team and the ones that had like coaches, or fathers, or their dad played in the NHL, Sean Couturier, or like players. They seem to have that advantage. They come in with that
Yeah.
extra like.
Well, it's almost like that work ethic, like you were kind of alluding to, is just ingrained in them. Obviously, all players have the work ethic to make the NHL, but it might just be a level higher.
It's they live the complete lifestyle. Actually, one thing he was saying is like they watch hockey with their dad. He's like they get the extra commentary when they're watching. It's like they get extra lessons here and there in between. But I was thinking about it as you were talking. It was like two guys that, and I'm going to say both of them now, because you don't really think about them as a contender, but Jackson and Noah Cates. If you look at what Tortorella is doing, and you look at those two players, they fit what he is doing, like kind of perfectly. They already paired him up in this rookie game, and they scored a shorty together. And I'm kind of like in my mind, I'm kind of like, these are the type of players that the Flyers need to find more of.
Yeah.
Like Jackson Cates might never be more than a bottom line center in the NHL. Noah Cates obviously is better than that even already, right? Yeah. But if you have a Jackson Cates versus a Connor Bunnaman, I take Jackson Cates because of the culture element.
Yeah, and he's working. I mean, he's shown and in the past as well that he's willing to put that work in, right? So,
and I'm looking at the names, like, and I want to talk about some of the PTOs. I'm looking at some of the names. I'm wondering, like, is this an attempt on Tortorella's part to literally have as many of these guys rise up through our system?
Yes.
Because the only way to succeed in what he's talking about, at least in the beginning, is to understand the basic fundamentals of preparing for an NHL season. Because if you don't know how to do that as a young guy, you won't make his team.
And you won't succeed even if you got to that level in the first place. So.
Yes. So, like a guy like Frost, for instance, I don't know if his preparation is as good as the Cates brothers. I would actually assume not, personally.
Yeah. I mean, we typically don't know, so it's hard for us to really make the assumptions. But I agree. Like, I mean,
but if you could turn him into a Cates brother,
yeah, it's possible.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's the mentality, like we were saying. It's the standard that players need to come in. They need to understand that when you're here and we're practicing, it's time to work. We're not fucking around, basically. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of what he's putting down, I think.
I agree, but I think it's also like, all right, we're younger. You're younger than I am, but you remember the beginning of like your work career, right? Like, how did you feel? Did you feel like you were a professional on everybody else's level, or did you
No.
feel like you were kind of younger and I'm still learning it? And
No.
I think
But that's natural. There's a learning curve for everybody, right?
right, but I think Tortorella is trying to get rid of that
Yeah.
and be like, it's kind of like I am not just saying to you guys, I want you to be professionals. Otherwise, you won't be on the Flyers. It's like you won't be able to hack it in this organization
Yeah.
if you can't do that.
Well, he's trying to build it, I think, top
That's like the
down, obviously.
Bruins.
Yeah, like look at the Bruins, right? That's a great example. You see them call guys up that you never heard of, and they fit right into their lineup seamlessly, or even Tampa Bay, right? So that's what all good organizations do. They have that philosophy within their, farm team to their, main NHL organization, and then that kind of exudes throughout. And players know what to expect when they get to that level. And even at the AHL side of things, I think even Laperriere was kind of stressing that he wants guys to be ready and he's going to push them too, right? So
I hope so.
we're going to see. Did you want to touch on the PTOs?
Yeah, let's touch on the PTOs. I guess the two most notable, obviously Antoine Roussel was invited,
Yeah.
and Artem Anisimov. Let's talk about Roussel first, and there's other PTOs, but I think those are the two important ones to talk about.
Yep. Yep.
Let's talk about Roussel first because, personally, I'm not that interested in signing Roussel just because we have Delorier, we have McEwen.
There's a lot of types that are like him already.
Yeah,
But I think there's
I
no
don't think
harm
he's
in
gonna make.
bringing. No, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think he's
think he's
going
gonna
to.
make it team.
I don't think so. I think what it is just the fact that there's so many young guys. He's a pro. He's been there. He's going to work hard in camp. So that's going to just add another wrinkle for the younger guys. You know what? If you want to make it, you got to work harder than this guy who's been in the NHL for X amount of
Extra
years. Look how
competition.
hard. Yeah, and it's a smart thing to do because you don't want to just come into a training camp, especially now that there's even more injuries involved too. That
I
younger
say that though.
guys,
There might be
younger
more injuries.
yeah, but younger guys look at the roster and say, "Well, look at this. I'm all ready to be in the lineup. I'm penciled in here, right?" You don't want
They're
guys to have
not
that
that
mentality.
they're not
So
that young anymore, dude.
no, no,
Like I keep hearing everybody saying like that what about they blocking the young guys? Like, dude, these guys are 24 years old. If you're
yeah,
better than the veteran, you should be able to win at this point. You should be
yeah,
able to win
exactly,
that spot from him.
exactly.
Especially from Anton Roussel. You're not throwing a superstar in his way here.
No, that's what's going to be though. I think it's like he was saying, Tortorella, like it's an open competition, man. Like whoever plays the best, whoever shows it and shows what they want the most is going to get that, those spots. So they're going to have to work for it, and
The
I think that's a factor of the
For sure.
PTOs.
The one that does interest me though is Artem Anisimov because I liked him prior to this. He played in the KHL last year, decent numbers.
He tore his
Uh,
ACL, and that's kind of why I think he was out of the league.
oh, is that why he tore his
Yeah,
ACL
well,
and then
he
went to the
tore his.
KHL?
So what happened is he tore his ACL. He got a PTO with the Avalanche. Couldn't
Mm,
crack the Avalanche, which I mean, fuck, Stanley Cup champs. So hard lineup to crack. And
yeah.
then went to the
Then went to
KHL.
then went to the KHL, probably rehab there. Now he's back again.
Yeah,
So I mean, we'll see. He was a good player. He played under Torts before.
he
We're
has.
obviously short at center. He's got big. He's got size. I
I
think
think
he might make the team.
just based on Couture getting injured, like he'll probably make the team.
He's not a good face-off guy though, so I don't know how reliable he is as a
No.
centerman.
Um, you know what? Like he can play all situations. I know earlier in
Yeah.
his career he used to play penalty kill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that factors in. I know he has
It
played with,
does. It does
yeah,
factor in.
probably.
It's a
I
Brassard
Yeah,
type of move.
exactly. He's played with Tortorella. There's familiarity there too, so
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
good.
that's
I
sure
think it's a good, I
that's an
think
aspect.
personally I think he's a good pickup. I mean, before getting injured, what I think he was on pace for 15, 20 goals or whatever. Didn't he have
Um,
15 goals in like 50 some games?
so yeah, he had 15 goals in 49 games with the Senators in 2019, and then in 2020 tore his ACL with them and only played 18 games.
But
So
again, like if you throw that score on this team last year, he's one of our top scorers. So
yeah,
I'm
so
not saying that it's a. I think Anisimov brings an element that this team needs. I think Roussel does as well. But with the addition of Delorier, the fact that we have McEwen locked
it's
up, the fact that we have
redundant.
yeah, the fact that we have Allison here, it's like, and I know Allison's like, it's just like, do we have this? I don't know if we have the space for
Yeah.
Roussel, but we'll see what injuries pop up. I'm not against any of these things personally, dude. Like,
No, me neither. I mean, nothing against Roussel either. Like I said, if there wasn't a McEwen Delorier already kind of
well,
in the mix, then I would
but
think of it like more of a chance to
well,
happen. But yeah,
what are we getting upset about? Like, what are people we need? Like, as far as the line, I'm not saying there's nothing to be upset about. I'm saying like we need this team to show that they can play as a unit. It
yeah,
does not matter if Anton Roussel's on the fourth line, Nick Delorier's on the fourth line, Wade Allison's on the fourth line.
they have to buy in, whoever it is.
It, the team itself cannot succeed without Travis Konechny, without Cam Atkinson, JVR. Hey, these are the guys who drive the team.
Yeah,
If that is not fixed, it doesn't fucking matter.
what Antoine Roussel or Artem Anisimov
Yes.
are doing exactly.
If we're winning and we're losing by a hair, and it's like the fourth line player argument, it frustrates me at times too. This is not the time to be worried about PTO.
No,
I don't get it. If they're on the team, they block a young guy, maybe that's a problem. Maybe. Yeah. And at this point, I'm not even convinced that that's a problem. No. So like
especially too with them saying that young guys are going to get ample opportunity to make a mark and make the team. So.
Look, I understand. I'd rather have all young guys at this point.
Yeah, same here.
But I am not in that locker room with these guys. I don't know their personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can tell you that showing up to a workplace when nobody knows to take charge and everybody feels like they're on a ride sucks.
100%. Yeah.
It's the worst. And you need veterans. Do people hear? I don't know why people still make fun of this thing. I keep hearing this is a young man's game for everybody. I still do not buy that. Sorry. I don't buy it. It's not a young man's game. It's a young man's game for money because they can pay young guys less. That's why you can have more of them in the lineup. Older guys are going earlier because they can't afford them. They go and play in other leagues or walk away without contracts. It's money.
Yeah, pretty much, which is, I mean,
it's money.
A symptom of a lot of problems, I would say. And I mean, that's why teams do look to get these younger guys kind of in, right? You get them on those ELC deals and then you develop them a little earlier and you incur savings that way. You can kind of add in more expensive older guys to round things out for you, right?
Look, if you can find an elite young player like a Joel Farabee who's 21 years old and can lead your team in goal scoring, like, sure, obviously, what's his name? Makar is a different level. That's not elite. That's franchise caliber. But I mean, like a young player that's like, you find these guys, they're rarities.
Yeah,
they're rare
most guys take time to develop, right? Like we say all the time, there's
fucking children,
linear.
Dude.
It's not linear. Yeah.
All I have to say is like, go look at college students. These guys are college student age.
Pretty much. Yeah.
They would be in frats getting wasted, trying to do bad things on the weekends. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. I mean, I say it all the time on the show, Yariv. Like, I mean, I'm personally 26 years old. I wouldn't consider that I'm developed in any way in terms of just life in general. So how could you expect that a hockey player or another individual at my age is the same? So like, I can't.
And look, even if they're exceptional humans, right? Oh, they're professional athletes. Great. I'll give them the edge. Give them the edge. They're still kids.
Human beings.
Yeah. So like, what does that make them a little bit quicker to grow up? A little bit?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I think just to end off here, like an interesting thing we kind of wanted to touch on was just outlook of the franchise. And one thing I just wanted to say is, and kind of harps back to Tortorella, really. I mean, and the letter he was saying, if a player's not working hard, you're not going to see much of him.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to sum up the outlook of the franchise going ahead. And reason being would be that, I mean, if you are a player this season and you do not perform up to Tortorella's expectations, young guy, whatever you are, there's so many unknowns, so many question marks.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be around. This is a season where the team is going to really evaluate what we have. And I mean, if they're not fitting in with what's going on, this new identity, new culture, they're going to be gone. So I think in a sense, I mean, it could be
mistakes.
In a sense, it could be a good thing, right? Because if you see guys that don't want to, buy into this type of culture where everybody's on the same level, everybody's at the same point. We're all doing it together. We're all buying and we're all working hard.
Mm-hmm.
Is that somebody that you can build a successful team and culture around? Most likely not. So I
Yeah.
think it's the start of just figuring out a lot of uncertainties with this team as we kind of move forward through training camp into the season, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, dude. I feel like I'm not ready to talk about the roster yet because we're still so far away from that point.
Who even knows
And
what the set roster will be at this point?
yeah, like I really don't know. Next week we'll probably talk about it.
Yeah, delve into more lines,
Yeah.
combinations. Because as training camp goes along, you're going to cut players. There's gonna be more.
We're 2 days away. Well, actually, as people are listening to this, we're going to be 1 day away from the first preseason game.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting to see what happens there. We're
Yeah.
definitely going to be watching. That's for sure.
Hopefully, it's on. I don't think it's announced if it's on TV though.
Yeah, NBC
They
XM
announced
Philly
it.
Plus. Yeah,
They did. Okay, great,
yeah. So you
awesome.
can watch that there. Or I mean, there's always some streams that people
Yeah,
can find too.
no comment. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hell yeah. All right, well, let's cut this one now. Vasili, you're gonna feel better soon. I think we're gonna have a lot more to talk about
No
very
setbacks, man.
soon.
We got through the episode. We finished it. Just to end off, actually forgot to mention Patrick Brown's injured too, guys.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
even more opportunity for the young guys there.
yeah. And that one is,
What are you gonna
I'm
do?
still not even convinced he makes the team.
Even if he was healthy, yeah, I don't think he would, to be honest.
I don't know. I don't know at this point. It's too many guys in that territory and not enough roster spots for them.
Agree.
And it's not a great problem to have because they're not too many elite players. It's too many
No, it's
guys
a lot
who are
of
like in your bottom six
third liners,
Yeah.
fourth liners.
that you
You
can't
hope
even get much for in a trade.
you
a lot
hope
of
the
times.
guys that are third liners or where we kind of peg them in like an Allison, Lisinski, those type of guys as their ceiling. We kind of hope they could show more. You never know. They never play at the NHL level. So.
I think Allison's ceiling is high.
I think Allison's
Injuries
ceiling
are.
is like a second liner if he can
I
put it all
think
together. But
if I think he can be a complimentary top six forward, like not a play driver guy, but a guy who can, like Tom Wilson.
He can ride shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah, like Tom Wilson is, I say, elite version of what that is, which is like he's not a play driver. He's a very good player, but he's not elite.
But what he does, he's elite at what he does.
Yeah, Scott Hartnell was a great complimentary player. There was nothing Scott Hartnell did.
That's a great example, man.
Yeah,
that's a good example. If Wade Allison can be half of Scott Hartnell, I'm happy.
Scott Hartnell had 40 goals. He was never a goal scorer. He was never a forechecker. Like literally, the guy did nothing at an elite level, but he did everything just good enough that you could put him with elite players, and then he would benefit and complement them. That is a complementary forward. And when people look at the Florida Panthers, the one thing that they talk about, everybody talks about, the Flyers have no players who can play in the top six. Majority of the Florida Panthers are complementary players.
Carter Verhaeghe is complementary to Alexander Barkov. Before I used to say Sam Bennett's a complimentary to Jonathan Huberdeau, but I guess now it's Sam Bennett's a compliment to Matthew Tkachuk. But same kind of deal.
See how that works. But yeah, exactly. Bennett's a good player, complimentary player. He's not a complete line player, right? He struggled when he wasn't on a good team. He can't do it all himself. He's a good player. I like him. I would take him. Maybe Lindell, he's young, but maybe that guy.
He's fuck, man.
He'll be an elite.
He's gonna be really good.
But my point is, it's not your whole lineup is elite to be good. Like most players are not. You need guys who, like Mike Knuble.
He's a perfect complementary player. Literally,
Gagne,
Forsberg, and Gagne. Yeah.
In some ways, Michael Renberg.
Definitely. He was compliment to the Legion of Doom. I mean, he had tons of skill too, but
he wasn't as good as those two.
No, definitely not. I mean, we'll throw a Michael Raffle in there with Jake and G too.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, that I would say Renberg is definitely more on the high end.
Oh yeah, Raffle's on the low side of that.
But again, he
could do it. He could
20 goal scorer playing with Giroux and Voracek. He's not a 20 goal scorer in the NHL. He was like a 10 to 15 goal scorer.
But he knew in the places to be and knew where to go. That could complement those guys, like we kind of been saying.
That's how deep that team was.
Yeah, literally. Hopefully, we see some of the young guys kind of show that promise.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting, man. Coming up, there's lots to look forward to, despite the injuries that have kind of happened here. So
Yeah. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Jim Steaks on 4th and South. I always forget to do it in the beginning now, but go get yourselves a cheesesteak. I think they're back up. I keep
oh,
forgetting to look it up.
that's awesome. If they are, go grab
I
a
don't
cheesesteak.
remember. That's terrible.
So,
But
also everybody,
regardless, look it up for yourself.
yeah, follow Jamie Basco on Twitter at Jamie Basco.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
covering all the training camp stuff. He's got you covered, so make sure you follow him for that. And then one last piece of league news: Zdeno Chara retires, PK Subban retires, Keith Yandel retires. That's kind of crazy. So I thought I would
And
mention
potentially
that.
Nolan Patrick is retiring too. I know we brought that up earlier, but
Crazy stuff, man. So, and the season hasn't even really started yet. We're already getting all this news.
let's go. All right. Well, actually, Vasili, you have anything coming out? Anything you want to?
Probably I'll have an article over the weekend, most likely, just kind of in depth on the training camp type stuff. Maybe after the first preseason game.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really goddamn appreciate it. Ooh, sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain. I'm not religious, but if you are religious, apologies. But no, for seriously, thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, share. The commenting has increased. We see all the comments. Thank you guys so much. We can see the engagement has gone up too. It's like so freaking cool. And obviously we had Owen Tippett on and then Jim Jackson. That was fun for us to do those back to back. And
yeah,
we're working on some more stuff. So there'll be more announcements in the future, more guests and stuff like that coming. But also, you know, Vasili and I just love just coming on here and talking ourselves too.
as you could tell, probably.
Yeah, right. So again, we love you. Thank you. Like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 blah. And remember, always stay gritty.